Well, we're going to finish up with a new award, and this is the Alumni of the Year Award, something we decided to present tonight. And Bob, I think you're making an introduction.
Fritz, I'm introducing you. Let me say this. Fritz Jacobi Lambda Teak Man of the Year Award. You know, there's a tradition of naming awards after people who have been outstanding in their field. You win the Super Bowl, you get the Vince Lombardi Award, named after one of the legendary coaches, the man who coached the Green Bay Packers from a mediocre team into a national championship team. And so too, we have the name of this award after Fritz, who is outstanding as an alumni member. You all heard the stories of how he found the rechartering of Lambda chapter in 1974. But there's another story too, and that's in the mid-'80s. Mid-'80s, I took a business trip back to Madison, and I, for nostalgia purposes, wanted to look at the teak house. And I did, and I was disappointed. The house was not cleaned, it was in disrepair. There was just a handful of members living there, and they didn't seem to care, and it seemed like they were gonna go out of existence. And it just so happened the teak board of directors for the building corporation was meeting, and I went to that meeting, and I was shocked. They were going to sell the house. They were voting to sell the house, sell the teak house. And I said, no, please don't. Give me 30 days to find the solution. And they said, okay, we'll give you 30 days. And I found the solution. The solution was Fritz Jacobi. I called Fritz, I explained the problem to him. He immediately got to work. He and I went to the next meeting, and you heard him tell the story of that next meeting where we actually got them not to sell the house. We figured out we'd rent it out. We got the ZBTs to rent the house. So for a while it was the ZBT house. And then what happened was we had a growing teak colony, and we had to face the problem of getting the ZBTs out and getting the teaks in, and that was not easy. What happened was the ZBTs didn't like the fact that we didn't renew the lease for them, and they took it out on the house. And the house, when they left, was in the absolute worst condition it ever was. It was almost destroyed. And we had to, under Fritz's leadership, we had to make insurance claims, we had to negotiate a settlement with ZBT, we had to fix the house, clean the house, and help the new colony move into the house so they could become a teak chapter. And that was quite an accomplishment under Fritz's leadership. And Fritz stayed on with that board as the chairman for many, many, many years after that. And every problem that came up, new sprinkler system, we had to solve the problem. Fix the roof, we had to solve the problem. Every problem we had to fix, and it was all Fritz's leadership as alumni. And he did this while working his career as a newspaper publisher. Fritz worked for the Gannett organization, and he published newspapers. He published the newspaper in Wausau, Wisconsin. He published the newspaper in Springfield, Missouri, where he still has a house. He published the newspaper in Fort Myers, Florida, which,
or what's left of it.
Up to 2 days ago it was there. And then he published the newspaper in Rockford, Illinois. And he did all this, and the most amazing thing in Rockford, Illinois, I've got to tell you this, he bought a printing press. Now, this printing press was so big, he had to buy the street in front of his building and build a building around it. And it was 4 or 5 stories tall, and if you want to see that printing press, Look at the James Bond movie, Tomorrow Never Dies, because James Bond had a gunfight, in the printing press, the same one that he built in Rockford. And it was not only for the Rockford paper, but it was a backup paper for all of the newspapers in southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. And that, to me, that was phenomenal. And he did that all while he was working with Teak as an alumni. And this is just the local work. He worked on the national level too. For 7 years, he was on the board of directors for the Teak Educational Foundation. And then, in 2010, he was appointed to the Grand Council. This is the council that runs Teak International Fraternity. He was a councilman at large. At the conclave, the Teak Conclave, 2011, he was elected Grand Grammateus. Served 2 years at the conclave in 2013. He was again re-elected as Grand Grammateus. In the council at 2015, the conclave I should say, he was elected Grand Hypophides. And then in 2017, when his term ended, they gave him the Grand Preakness Award. So he worked on the local level and on the national level. He had his career, he had his family with his beautiful wife right there. He has 2 smart and successful sons, and he's a granddaddy for 3 grandkids. So here's my friend Fritz Jacobi.
All right. Well, I must be getting old, because when you get old, then you get things named after you or something like that. But I thank you very much for this honor. If you've heard the expression, the fraternity for life, and that's certainly something that I've taken to heart over the last couple of decades, like 6 of them or 5 of them. And you've heard from the other honorees tonight. My best friends to this day are my fraternity brothers that I met 40, 50 years ago. Rob Weigend and Mike Radoff are my best buddies, and those are just valued relationships that are just very, very meaningful. You've heard the other inductees tonight talk about the relationship and what they've learned. It's kind of funny. When we first put that budget together, that was almost $100,000 back in '74. Think about that. You got you're running a business that's almost $100,000 in 1974 dollars. That's a big deal, And where else would you have that kind of experience? And so, my value in Teak was not only the friendships, but all the learning things that we enjoyed, the leadership. Just running an organization. You heard it from Bill Vandecastle, just how to work with boards, run meetings, things that are so critical in running the world today. And if it wasn't for Teak, I don't know where I would have learned that. So Teak to me has been just very, very invaluable. And I thank you all for the honor. I really do.